the table. Afternoon, folks. So, committee, the objective behind it really is to find a way to bridge the differences between us. Because when we gather, yes, we are a spiritual people. If one person prostrates, the other one is offended. If one prays, the other one is offended. If one pours libation, the other one is offended. And we really have to get over this for us to move forward. And so what we came up with, or I should say what the ancestors sent to us, was the Emancipation Affirmation. A simple statement about our divine lineage, how to achieve liberation, and the legacy we must leave for future generations. So we launched this officially on 1st of June.
Yes.
Right? We launched it officially on the 1st of June. And what we will be doing is we'll be coming to groups, organizations, and asking them to adopt it, because we think it has great potential. We know it has great potential to help bridge that gap, because we are at a time now where the things that we allow to separate us, we have to get over those hurdles. And those things are impediments really only because, as I was saying on June 1st, our thinking has been colonized. And that colonized mindset we have is what is the cause of a lot of our problems. So, in opening up that, well, I didn't plan to do it this way, but the discussion has started, so I might as well continue. To make that point, I've decided I'll be talking about this for the rest of the year, maybe. So to make the point that, our thinking has been colonized, right? They say a picture paints 1,000 words, right? So I'm going to put 2,000 words up here just now, so I can just get it sorted. I was actually going to do this later on, but might as well use the time wisely. Now, just to make the point, if this, right, if this represents acupuncture, the great healing art of the Chinese people, if that's what that represents, then this should represent voodoo, the great healing art of African people. But we don't see that. We think this is negative, and yet we run and we pay money for this. But this and this, if you look at it, it's the identical thing you are looking at. And so when we say our thinking is colonized and we need to address that, that is what we are talking about. So because of colonization, how we see the world, how we interpret the world has been colored with someone else's paradigm of us. And that is the major stumbling block. I dare say that colonization has socialized us to be underachievers. It socializes us to be really and truly impotent. And while individuals excel, as collectively as a people, we struggle because of, as Franz Fanon says, those germs of colonialism are still around, they're still in our minds, and we really have to work at rooting them out. So in that context, the emancipation affirmation is piece of that puzzle, right? We see it as an olive branch that we can all hold on to. We see it as a bridge that we can all stand on and travel on together as we move towards our destination, our liberation and our renaissance. So that is the context in which the emancipation affirmation came about. And like I said, we would be moving around and encouraging people to use it and to adopt it. So that when we meet, there is some commonality or some common thing we can hold on to. So I don't know if anyone has anything and comment to make, to add, questions to ask. So this is just an informal session until Professor Browder arrives. Adi. May I say, I won't be answering the questions.
No,
we have,
and it's not a question.
we have well-learned and experienced people here to sit answer the questions.
I used an example the other day in an interview, and it is.
Okay. So we're recording, so if you could just say your name, etc.
My name is Adi Hans. The other day I did an interview, and we were looking at the same issue. Because I was trying to show them that there's a mindset, and we are very much Europeans. We've got black skins, but we've got European minds. And it took an experience of having friends in London from Nigeria and using the word sorry. In the European context, the word sorry is apologetic. Europeans use it to apologize. In Africa, sorry, Africans use it to empathize. And constantly in London, my Nigerian friends would say they hit themselves or they hurt themselves, and they say, well, why don't you say sorry? And I observed that for a number of years. It's actually when I went to Nigeria and observed it in its context, I began to understand how it was used differently. So it's something very simple, but in itself shows you how we've been colonized, how we've been trained to behave and react in certain ways. You know? Like I said, it's very simple, but it taught me that very important lesson. And no matter how much my friends in London said to me, well, why did you say sorry when I hurt myself? I'm used to saying sorry to apologize to somebody when, you know, I do them something. So that context learned me very much what you're talking about what we have to do to understand the situation we're in, and how sometimes I say to people, we think we're thinking, but we're only reacting. And that's very much part of the process of really beginning to understand what is really happening to us and what we see, the situation that we see ourselves in. The affirmation is a good step. Also, we have the African pledge used in the same way, you know, but it's all a learning process. And I said to someone the other day, it's also a time that we started to spend some time on the continent. You know, this is the year of return, gardening's happening. We need to go there and take in some of that as well to also begin to, you know, some of that process.
Right, thank you. want to share?
Michael Hoggins. One of the basic things we have to really appreciate and understand is the diversity of the African continent. In the context of this one people feel is a very difficult thing to hold because of the diversity of the African continent. You see? Because in each African nation, we have nations. Understand the statement I'm making? In each African nation, we have nations. Right? These nations are a law, a government, and autonomous unto themselves. So even in Africa, we don't have the unity that we're speaking of out here. Even there, we don't have it. And for we to really manifest that unity, maximum and at large, I think Africa is a place had to set that first example for us. I don't know if one would agree with me.
Also, we have to also then show that unity as well. We have to contribute to building that unity because there's also a view on the continent. We have to realize how Europeans conquered and controlled Africa was through divide and rule, to all the way through. That's how they control the continent.
The world.
Yeah, they divided, divide. So even that division is still manifesting itself today.
In the world, not just Africa alone, eh? Because if you watch, alright, let me take a simple place like we will call India, Pakistan today. Right?
Could you all stand please so that we can?
While they're speaking.
Yeah, while you're speaking so we can.
We should stand because
For recording purposes, because there's masking.
Yeah,
okay.
He wants to see who's in.
So, alright then. Yeah, as we're saying there, like, let me say, go for it, like India. Now it's India, Pakistan now. Before was one in Indus Valley, it was Hindu Kush, right? The white man go there, so they split, right? So we did this to the whole world, right? Now what I'm saying is this: we agree that out here in the West, we have to try to get together as a people to elevate ourselves, to maximize our children's potential to elevate, right? The context is that is all of us coming to one common understanding that we are Africans. Now this is very difficult, you know. It's very difficult because when I was going to Benedict's College, I took myself African in Form 3. I called myself Nigelo Odinga. I actually wrote that on my school book. Nigelo Odinga alias Michael Hoggins. My father nearly killed me. My father told me, who tell you he was an African? Because at the same now it's not just a colonial thinking in your head, but it's fear. He's afraid of what could happen to me because of my opening up to that. You see? So that's what I'm saying, until we have the colossal thinking amongst all of us that we are Africans, that statement, that affirmation will have some difficulty. Because we must all affirm that we are Africans before the affirmation become real. You know? So with religion and all these things dividing us as a people, we have a real battle that's going on for years for the enlightenment in the struggle. So, is in there.
The thing is that what you're saying is quite correct. Well, we have to start somewhere. And we cannot let the perceived hurdles and the real hurdles prevent us from making a step forward. Right? And every step forward will take us closer to the destination. Yes, there is diversity. In no country there is perfect unity. I think you need perfect unity is before creation when everything was the same. Once creation started, there was diversity. But diversity and differences really properly understood are complementary. So So the big strong person cannot get into the small foxhole. The skinny person can get there. So the diversity really is to enrich our experience. However, this is where we falter in the sense that when we lost our way, and the way how the Western mindset is, then differences becomes point of contention, right? But there will always be differences. You can't get away from it. So what we have to look to is we have to look to what is the end result, what is the goal we're trying to get to, what is our destination. We have to hold fast to that, and we just got to move. We just got to move and put things in place. There will be disagreements, etc., but the end result is what should be the driving force. The end result is the engine, because I don't think anybody is satisfied with where we are as a people. So we got to do what we have to do what we have to do.
Just like my brother here since 1983, I went and did the poll, and I officially am Heineken. Right? So my question is, based on historical research, what I did, I can't say it for everyone, but what I did, yeah, I happened to discover an original map of the continent of Africa. And what I observed then, one of the sea, what the system calls the Mediterranean Sea, I realized that they call that the Ethiopian Sea. So it tickled my mind then to research a little more. And I realized then that at one point in time, the continent that they call Africa today, the whole continent was once called Ethiopia. So I did a little more research again, and I realized that in 1932, when the Ethiopia joined the League of Nations, they wanted to stigmatize that part of the continent by the word Abyssinia. And that word Abyssinia was rejected in place of Ethiopia. So we had one area of the continent remaining with that particular name, Ethiopia. I continued to do my research, and I realized then that that particular part of the continent called Ethiopia was never colonialized. After the Berlin Conference in 1880 or something, 1884. They decided upon themselves then to check out board and divide the continent of Africa among themselves. So of course you all know the history. Italy take up, England take up peace, France. We won't go through all of that, but they divide the continent among themselves. But that particular area, for whatever reason, they were not able to colonize that particular area, and it remained with its original name, Ethiopia. So, I for myself now started to look towards Ethiopia, and I adopted that Ethiopian culture, because I realized then that without being colonialized, they remain with their original teachings. So I followed that teaching. In the 70s, in the Black Power movement, that whole concept then of being black, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. I always felt then that I could not just say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud, without a language. So in my endeavor now to pursue Ethiopianism, I got my language, so, and I got some culture out of it, what to eat, when to eat, how not to eat, and so on. So basically, I follow the teachings of Ethiopia. That is, But to say then that we didn't have our share in Ethiopia of colonialization. In many attempts to made, especially what more recently, we could talk about many other times, but in 1896 in the Battle of Adwa, the Italians tried to conquer Ethiopia. They failed in that attempt. Because of that failure, they came back in 1935 under the leadership of His Imperial Majesty. But we had different views about Ethiopia and the leadership of Ethiopia's Majesty. So again, even though when the Organization of African Unity was established in 1963, it was established in Ethiopia. The United Nations in Africa, that was established also in Ethiopia. So I want to believe then that I need to give, for me personally, and not for everyone, I just say for me then, personally, I need to give Ethiopia a little more recognition in my deliberation then. So I'm seeking that. I'm searching for that. Yeah? So this is just my first layout for today.
I liken Ethiopia to Haiti in the sense that Ethiopia was not colonized because they were rooted in a spiritual tradition. And that spiritual tradition and how the society was structured is what gave them that strength. That was a reflection of what occurred in Haiti in the period 1797 to 1804, right? 1791, stand corrected, yeah, 1791, right? Where the Africans who were in Haiti, taking there to operate the plantations, etc., when they revolted, they defeated the French army, they defeated the Spanish army, and they defeated the British army. Now, no people, nowhere, no time have achieved anything close to that. Those were the most powerful armies in the world at the time. And that, again, only came about because they were rooted in a spiritual system. Of course, they became stigmatized and they get all these stories about voodoo and all of that. That's a different discussion. They were rooted in spirituality. And the fact that we are so divided and it's so difficult for us to come together is because we are not rooted in an indigenous spirituality. That is a major, major, major thing that we have to hurdle, that we have to cross. Now, okay, so at this time we have an update. Professor Browder is not going to make it. We have just been told he is still in Moruga. Right? So he is not going to make it here, and I think his flight out of Trinidad is tonight. So there's no way he's going to make it here. I must apologize for that. And I really am quite heartened that you all responded to the call. It was a short notice. He confirmed with us yesterday that he would be attending here. And we put out that message around 3 o'clock, 3:30 yesterday that Professor Browder would be here. As fate would have it, he's unable to make it, right? So it's up to you. all to decide how we proceed. If we continue this discussion for a little while.
So I want to ask a question there. What I've said there now in the aspect of the whole landmass being considered Ethiopia. If the whole landmass of China, the people of that area are Chinese, the whole landmass of India, the people of that area are Indians, the whole landmass of Europeans are considered Europeans. Why it is then that the whole landmass of Ethiopia has not produced Ethiopians? That is my question. What I have a very, very urgent matter to deal with my brothers and sisters, because this particular issue has gone into the school system. It has been already.
Just a second. So before we get into that, so everybody agree with the continuing? We are on page, right?
We give an opportunity to
Right. Okay, good. So that can we continue.
Before I continue, since Cafe Resident, since we don't have a chair, then we put in the whole African Union, we make we set into a circle and then we run.
Yeah.
I'm not so qualified.
Well, in the context of what we have here, I would like us to start by reciting the affirmation, and then we can proceed. Because actually we were going to wait until Professor Brown will come to do that.
Oh, but then running
So, and if you can stand and we can all recite the affirmation, and then we can proceed. Emancipation affirmation. The Supreme Being created me, and guided by divine law, I liberate myself from all oppression. I honor the enlightened ancestors and strive to establish a legacy of unity, peace, and prosperity through righteous action.
Brothers and sisters, we have a very serious matter that we're dealing with in Ethiopia right now. And we calling on all our brothers and sisters now, in whatever way that you all can, to give us the necessary support. Because we physically cannot be part of that struggle as in 1935 when all the nations of the world supported Ethiopia and they struggled in 1935. This struggle is a different form of struggle. And I will not beat around the bush, I'll come directly to the point because it will affect us sooner or later. There's a certain tour guide called Toto, which is a Swahili word meaning children. I hope you all know about it. Toto is a purely gay rights organization. They have a travel tour. And they want to organize a travel tour to Ethiopia to visit the holy sites. You all might be familiar with Lalibela and Gondar and all these holy sites. And there's a petition outside here where we are saying we are totally against the visit to Ethiopia by this organization. But more so in Canada, the Minister of Education is, of course, I don't know, I'm not mashing any toes or anything, I hope I'm not offending anyone. But the Minister of Education in the Canadian system is a lesbian, a gay woman, right? So now they're introducing books into the schools whereby our children and our children has to accept that form of education of male and male and female and female as a partner. And I don't know how you all might take this, but in our African societies, we don't deal with that. Yeah? So even though the brother is saying that we might have difficulties then in putting arms around each other because some of us practice different customs and religious beliefs, we must find some form of commonalities then amongst ourselves. What we have in common. 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth just like me. That was James Brown. This issue now, I am seeking the view of my brothers and sisters, especially my sister, because some people say they're born, so they have different excuses. I would like to know how my brothers and sisters feel about that situation and how we're going to deal with it in the future. Because it is bad. And if we look at it in a long term, well then there will be no procreation and there will be no continuity then. Because continuity comes from male and male or male and female. Which one? Male and female, right? In order for us to produce and continue the generations. So I know we didn't come here for that, but I have this sore point in my heart right now, and I am asking my brothers and sisters for as much help as possible from you all in your prayer towards not allowing that ghetto to enter into, when I say our country, Ethiopia. Thank you, brothers and sisters.
Present evening, brothers and sisters. I believe that what has taken place is a blessing in disguise. Yeah, our brother Kasala Kumar. And the brother who just spoke answered the question you didn't realize the answer. If Ethiopia has been able to withstand the forces of imperialism and colonialism and all these things, it means that Ethiopia today will withstand any trust towards gay. Because I think we have to do some serious analysis of the power of our culture, not the what we experience. In Ethiopia, from what I know, we have priests who live in mountainous monasteries and who don't ever come out, who are involved in what we call deep meditation and have a direct link with the cosmic forces. And when Mussolini and them tried to capture Ethiopia, they could not because of the extent to which our tradition was entrenched. So I hope that when we study African culture, we understand what we are dealing with. So I have absolutely no fear. It is going to melt like ice if we understand the depth of our culture. That's my contribution. I have no fear. Because, let me continue. Sorry. When we talk about civilization, and we talk about institutions and traditions in the context of Ethiopia, we are talking about traditions and institutions that are of thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years old. Do you understand what that means? How could some gay characters just walk in there and upset the whole of it? It doesn't make sense to me. It just does not make sense. So I think what we have to do is to do more meditation when we are looking at some of these issues to understand that in many parts of Africa, the people there have not been conquered spiritually. Thank you.
Zambia Supreme Court dressed a while ago said that marriage between a man and a woman, all the old system is outdated. We're talking about an African country calling shots and saying he's all right. This is happening in Africa. So when we are talking about the power of Africa and what cannot happen and what cannot happen, we have to be careful. What's happening in Venezuela today? America says that's it and that's it. People eating out of garbage, they don't care. If these colonial powers, if these imperialists don't get away with it, but let us destroy it, what will happen to Iraq? What will happen to Libya? So the thoughts that it cannot happen are kind of defined from there. It could happen because it has done. We was in slavery. So how long we come something unthinkable that a nation like Africa could be conquered as that. So I am saying let's go with the petition. Because we have an African leader, I can't remember his name, it's still punishable by death. He dressed the enshrined it in the constitution. This bisexual thing, this lesbian gay thing, that is punishable by death. So we have African nations and African leaders who is fighting it. And they have African Supreme Court who answers to other entities who is saying no, forget that. Jamaica had a problem and Jamaica say no to lesbian and gay thing. When America rested on them, that will open it because they're an appropriate country. Bush went in for what? He didn't go in for drugs. You understand? I'm saying the powers are powerful enough to destroy us because they have done it. And you see what we have here, we are the cream of African brothers with African minds in here. Outside of the city, much, you know. So I'm saying we have to do it. If the petition have to go through, let it go through. But I am saying that to think these people are capable and not doing the job to destroy us, continue to destroy us, that's real. That's.
I do not necessarily agree. Good evening, everyone. Corey Jilts is the name. I do not necessarily agree that we need to go forward with any petition until we are sufficiently informed. Now, if you say that we are the cream, then let our thinking reflect that. We need to recognize that, as was pointed out earlier, Africa is a vast continent, thousands of years old, millions of years old, with diverse cultures and understandings of the world. Now, a little bit of a disclosure here. I've been doing research for a book I'm working on for several years now, looking at the impact of European social values through Christianity on the African concept of femininity in Trinidad. So I had to research a lot of human sexuality. A lot of my assumptions went out the window. It wasn't easy. Suffice it to say, I am not dismissing the concerns. I am just saying we need to understand that with regards to that death penalty, the question needs to be asked, is it an African law or is it a colonial era law? Which it happens to be. Yeah. Most of the laws that you see being discussed with regards to criminalizing of not just homosexuality, but even the use of cannabis, for example. These are colonial era laws that upon so-called independence, you had to retain. We call a savings clause. That is one. Two, Africa has vast, diverse forms of sexuality, as well as pairings. Not all of them are erotic. I'll give you an example. Among the Nobi people in Nigeria, you have same-sex marriages. Not necessarily erotic. They are what I call administrative, where the certain women are classified as husbands according to gender, not sex, gender, for the purpose of maintaining certain assets that are supposed to be given to a husband in Nigerian, particularly the Nobi society of the Igbos. There's a very good book on it, Male Daughters, Female Husbands, by Ife Amadiome. She's a Nigerian-born sociologist. She teaches in England. I have about 3 or 4 books. Now, even though they are married and she is the woman's husband, she also has sexual relations, heterosexual, with another man and have children by him. She is that man's wife. But for the purposes of maintaining assets in a bloodline, she is the woman's legal husband. And you find this in many parts of Central and West Africa, going back hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Now that was demonized in the colonial scheme because of their own narrow perspective. I'm just portraying that out into the mix that before we go really needy condemning and so on, we need to understand we're looking at clashes of the various cultures. And because the issue of sexual predators is a real thing, not just in Africa, right here in Trinidad. Right. You could go up Chagaramas right now and watch at the yachties. So we know this is real. But
we also need to understand that before we react, we are sufficiently informed. In ancient Egypt, in many parts of the Nile Valley, you had same-sex unions. And it was not only not demonized, it was incorporated into their cosmology. Just like how in the Native Americans, you have what you call the third spirit, the two-spirit. And in I think, is not Zambia, we call the gatekeepers. She died recently. She wrote about it, where it was incorporated into their worldview, into their spiritual view. Same thing in Uganda. The very interesting documentary that you can access on YouTube. So there are various forms of quote-unquote same-sex unions in Africa that predates Europe, predates Arab incursion. Not all of them were erotic, understand that, but some of them were. And as was pointed out in an interview in Uganda, it is not so much homosexuality that was on African, it's homophobia. And I think that is what we need to pay very close attention to, particularly since that is what is being used. Apart from sexual predators, we also need to take into consideration the way in which this is being manipulated to impose a second form of colonialism in Africa and the developing world, based on white middle-class liberal laws, using that to withhold aid. And it is being projected by predominantly Midwestern evangelicals in the United States. So we need to take all of that into consideration because this is very complex. See, so I hope I'm not treading on any corns, and if I am, I actually, because Kasala know me, I old Benedict's man too, I am apologizing.
No, not what I want to say is expound on that a little bit again, in the sense that kind of define that again for us so that we really understand the context of what you said there in terms of the same-sex marriage.
Because I'm
African culture.
Because I'm not hearing homosexuality.
No, we're not really hearing homosexuality as a sexuality. But what you said, the same-sex marriage was referring to in terms of inheritance. So
a lot of them were. Not some of which there were. Now there's a book I have in my library. If I don't have this discussion, I'm gonna bring some of my books as well. There are several books on it. Boy Wives, Female Husbands. There's one. Is one. Another one called Heterosexual Africa with a question mark by Mark Appret. So there are several books on there, and there are also online papers. The long story short, what we're looking at is unions, depending on the culture you're looking at.
Yeah.
It is not necessarily cohabitation.
Very well.
It is what I call administrative. Like for example, among the Nobi, where they have strict gender roles, you have female husbands. They are made husbands in order, because they are in order to maintain assets or inheritance in a particular bloodline.
Okay.
A woman is made a husband to another woman strictly for that purpose. But
is it because?
But it is not erotic.
No, but is it because there is not another male in the line?
Essentially, that is
okay. Right.
Yeah.
Question. I'm going to make a quick input, very quick input. The problem we have is that we have been trained to think in a Eurocentric context. So the only thing we know when we begin to analyze is the Eurocentric view, which is essentially a view of Eurocentric Christianity. So on the basis of that, we come out here and we criticize, but not understanding some fundamentals. Number one, our ancestors told us years ago that one of the most important principles is the principle of opposites.
Yeah.
It means, therefore, that if we have good, we have bad. It means, therefore, if we have this type of union, we will have We have this type of human union. Opposite tells us what? Even though we don't like it.
There exists
Exactly. What we have to investigate is what is the basis of the union.
But that's what the guy was telling me.
And that's what I'm saying. There are people, because of their Eurocentric perspective, not their fault, that's how they have been socialized, they view things based on that Eurocentric perspective. Not understanding what you said earlier about the diversity and the complexity of African civilization.
Yes.
So therefore, we have to do much more investigation of the human relations before we can pontificate on certain issues.
That's exactly
I just like to say something. Gemma Joseph, Southern Emancipation Committee Secretary. I am aware that there is an agenda to reduce world population. That has been made public a long time ago. It's not now going on. And the Africans have been under attack ever since they brought us here forcibly. We have probably millions of our people lining the bottom of the ocean. And when we come here, it's another kind of there was all this physical force and all this killing, and it goes on. And although they bred us, quote unquote, to be enslaved and after their own wants and their own greed, we continued to somehow miraculously thrive in numbers. Now, I am also aware that Caucasians, I think Professor Nantambu some years ago, he said they made up only 9% of the world's population at the time. That was some years ago. I would not be surprised if it were less now. And we continue to breed and to thrive and to prosper. Not only that, we are beginning now to wake up. This here is an expression of wake up. So that may be one of the reasons why they would push homosexual unions, because there is no natural birthing to arise out of that. And in fact, it makes more confusion, because what happens is that these couples want children. So they go and they pluck your children and they take them and they adopt them and they make them perverts from birth. So it could be one of the reasons why the gay, lesbian, LGBTQ, queer, whatever it is now in your face, it's popular, and you are literally being socialized into that as well. That's my 2 cents.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Alistair. What I want to contribute is, I understand what you're saying in terms of African tradition, and there's been so much expression where sexuality is concerned. Probably not sexuality is a word, but
That's also correct.
husband and wife and being a female. So I can understand what you're saying on that part. But when Europeans push this agenda, just to conclude with what Jenny was saying, they promoted a very specific kind of homosexuality.
Yeah.
I remember watching a program years ago on YouTube. They had a kind of question time session, a big audience, and the question was, is homosexuality on Africa? So the panel was there, they had doctors, professors, and different people and whatnot, and everybody was giving their view. And this program was hosted by the BBC, and so you can see that there was a bias already behind it, because you can see that they were trying to promote homosexuality. Not like what you're talking about, not like how you have female husbands and that, the kind of intricacies in African, you understand, tribal, what you could deal with, how can I express it now? What he was explaining before. They're not dealing with
Understand. But let me clarify, sorry to cut you across, let me clarify. When I said, what I said, but the point I was making is, it is both sexual and non-sexual. It depends on the culture you are looking at. To understand that. And I think I know that BBC program, I saw it as well. Yeah. I saw it as well. But it's the BBC, I mean, hello.
I would like to hark back. I'm sorry, Alistair.
As I say, one of the things that really stood up with that program, they had supposedly a traditional Zulu shaman and her female partner. Now, when they were introduced, they stood up and straight away they kissed. You understand? And that's something that you don't see. So I can see, right, that it's almost like, to me, it was like a stunt.
Scripted.
You know, it's scripted. And they had the Prime Minister of Uganda on that program. And they were asking him, well, why are you against homosexuality? And he said what he had to say, and the host, the tone which she was speaking to him, it was almost like she was mocking him, ridiculing him. So even to a point where somebody in the audience had to say, well, listen, that's the Prime Minister of Uganda, how are you talking to the man just so? So you can see that that whole program was just trying to promote a European style of homosexuality in Africa. You know, is also something you mentioned before. There was a thing where Britain is withholding aid from African countries if they don't support homosexuality.
That's what I'm thinking.
You know, I'm glad you mentioned, because this Maridoma Some and his wife Sobonfu Some, they talk about male and female aspects, but feminine energy in men, masculine energy in women. So I can understand that there's different intricacies in terms of our tradition. But like I said, not all of it is to do with sex or erotic practice. But like I said again, when Europeans are promoting this, it's not from that aspect. It's purely from their perversion, trying to bring that into
Okay, so here's my thing. Here's my question. It comes back to what I was.
That's what you were talking about. Could you produce children?
Pardon?
Could it produce children?
That's what again, it all depends. Like remember I told you.
A male and a female and a female. If you put them aside for a long period of time, would they make a child?
Listen to me. Remember I explained something to you, right?
I want you to answer me. Would they make a child?
No.
The answer is no. But the next question is, could they adopt a child in traditional African culture?
They're adopting the children now. And they're adopting the children now, like
I'm speaking within the African context. I'm not just with this total thing I'm talking
they're
about.
They're adopting the children now, and then now they're taking them now and changing their agenda from male to female. That's what they do. They're going to Africa.
That's what you're talking about.
No, in general, the movie stars and all them.
Yeah, but we're not
adopting black children, and they're making them into girls, or they're making them into.
I understand that. But it's not that I'm referring to. I'm talking about having. We need to seriously have establish a body of knowledge and have groups like this geared towards production of indigenous knowledge, so that when we deal with these kinds of issues, you have a thorough understanding of the various aspects of what is quote-unquote African culture. Could I
make another intervention here, please? Thank you. I think
when we sit down with this whole night.
I think that what we need to begin with is the philosophy that guided our civilization.
Exactly.
And the philosophy that guided our civilization was the development of the whole human personality. So we must not get diverted in a discussion which is looking at things from a European perspective.
Yes.
And having said that, it means that when we are dealing with the question of energy, we go back to the opposites. You have positive energy and you have negative energy. And our ancestors, from my understanding, going back to the ancient civilization, was able to understand thesis, synthesis, thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. So they brought the two energies together in order to produce a synthesis which represented an elevation of the human being. When we declined into European civilization, it was chaos and old mass, as we would say. So the energies got mixed up. So I'm saying that when we are discussing these things, we must discuss it from our perspective, because we have a great philosophy of humanism that goes back thousands of years. Exactly. And don't get caught up in the European discourse, because we'll get misguided. Thank you.
in here.
Nina.
I'm Harrison. I heard what everyone is saying, and basically I have a different point of view. I may get shoot or run out the room or something, but anyway, I can't just sit down and listen and not see anything, because we all have this passion to what is taking place, and we are all sitting here debating back and forth as to, okay, this is what happening, that is what happening. But look how much of us in here, we can channel that energy to actually change what is taking place in the spiritual realm, right? We have a lot of knowledge, each and every one. We can, right here, right now, we can organize something, come to some common ground as to say, okay, we're going to meditate, we're going to say a prayer, we're going to do something and channel this energy towards helping what we are all debating back and forth. That's just my shit.
Having said that, I would like to just hark back a bit to the Emancipation Affirmation. In designing and in putting forward the affirmation as Chefs said, was designed to help find a common ground, because coming out of the slavery and in the post-colonial era, we found ourselves Catholic, Baptist, Muslim, Ethiopian Orthodox, atheist, and a host of other things too numerous to mention, which has served to further eat away at the common ground that we can operate from. And my question is, should we challenge head on? Because Christianity, for example, it is no doubt in my mind, maybe there are doubts in other people's mind, that we have embraced that as a direct result of the period of enslavement. Should we challenge these religious practices head on, or should we bend the corner and begin to concentrate on other things that it would be easier? Should we criticize Islam? Should we criticize Christianity for the ways in which they do or do not further our, or are we running from that problem in bending the corner and trying to formulate something new? Because we had something before. That's my question in the context of the affirmation.
This is what I asked a question Yeah, McLeod is the name. McLeod. Greetings to everyone. Greetings. Now we're hearing a lot of talk, debate about different countries, and I believe that we have to deal with self. Let me forget about all, let me deal with self. A man, a woman. Now we talk about African slavery. Then we examine what we lost through the slavery period and how we're going to regain what we have lost. Because that is where the weakness comes. Understand? We have to come and think. Without a foundation, we can't stand. Where does African people foundation stand? I ain't talking about a country or a place. we're talking about spiritual. Within. I see many people just pray with their head to the skies. What I feel is inside here. So where does our foundation lie? When we want to fight against these things, we can't fight them on their ground. We have to fight them where we are strongest. We have to fight them from within us, where the power lies. And these things that are happening, they beat us because we go to their battlefield. We have to let them come to our battlefield. Where the homosexual thing come about, that is a weak point in man. We are strongest spiritually. So they weaken us spiritually first before they attack us in the physical. So right now we are weak people because we separated And we like branches that chop off from a tree because we don't want to hold on to the root. What is the true spiritualism? What is the true spiritualism? We talk about African spiritualism. The European had their own spiritualism. They print all kind of book about spiritualism. What is true spiritualism? Examine yourself within yourself before you cast judgment on another people. Because that same homosexual person you're speaking about, they have the rights just like me and you. They have the same privilege like me and you. And we can't hinder on their decision unless we want to hinder on our own decision. So what makes what we are doing right and what makes what they are doing wrong, or vice versa? We have to have some basis, some foundation.
What do you suggest? What do you suggest?
What I suggest? I suggest that a people first have to examine themselves. You as a human being, we can't be bandwagonists. You as an individual have to search within yourself, not the flesh, the spirit, and come up with a decision on what you believe is right. Don't let no book, don't let no European philosophy, don't nobody write in no book. Everybody talk about book and book and book and book. Books were written by men, but you can't write spirit. So it's what the spirit tells you. You go on that. If I deal with this man, I deal with this man in spirit. When we come to deal with each other in flesh, that is where the problem comes. And if we want to overcome, we have to fight the battle as spiritual.
You see that in ourselves? Let me be careful. Very careful. I'm going to tell you why. My mother was a Grenadian. My name before I changed my name was Noble Paul. My mother went and sleep. And my mother tell me, she said when she was sleeping, the angel of the Lord tell she to name me no about an Irish name. She never heard the name before. So you see that self thing, you have to be careful of it. I got an Irish name for my Grenadian grandmother, and she never heard the name before. When I changed my name, I couldn't tell my mother the name God gave to me. I don't want it. She never know I changed my name. Okay. Out of respect for the elder. Okay. You understand? So I'm saying spirituality is a very, very thing. Sometimes you walk and listen, we have Christians, we have Muslims. I mean, deep, deep, deep down in the spirit thing, and believe me, they're against Africa. African people. So that inner self is very deceiving sometimes, so we have to be careful. So our basis is to get a historical perspective of it. Let us get that education. Let us exchange ideas. I'm not calling it a debate. Let's exchange ideas. Let's get to our roots, and then from there, let we move. When you see that spirit thing, you have to be careful with it. I'm just guiding people on that. Because I tell you, a real spirit experience my mother had. A Grenadian girl, Irish name, the name she sang, and she never heard the name before. To the extent that she couldn't say no, but she used to call me Nabot. Nabot. All kind of name in family there. So I'm saying, you see that internal spirit thing, let me get the education, let me get the history.
Because tell him now.
I thank everybody for their contributions. Like in everything else, on that spiritual journey, you may need a teacher, right? If you pick up a maths book to learn maths, you may get some of it correct, and some of it you may not get it, and you need a teacher to guide you. So in that journey, you need a teacher. The thing about when you ask them what is the true spirituality, I will attempt to simplify it. The true spirituality is really about balancing the energies within you so that you function in harmony with nature. That is the true spirituality. All they do in the churches and all of that is just to lay that foundation to be function in harmony with nature. What is happening to us, a great deal of what is happening to us is that we are out of sync. So we watch football all night, we watch cricket all night, basketball, hockey, we're watching all sorts of things at a period where the spirit should be resting, and regenerating. We're going to sleep watching TV, watching this one killing that one. All of that is in our psyche. And all of that is have us functioning out of whack, right? Because put it in traditional context, in traditional societies, there were no non-communal entertainment. All entertainment was within the community, and all entertainment served to further the goals and objectives of the community. But we don't have that. Anybody can do anything, right? So it's certain subtleties we have to be mindful of, right? But the thing is, you have to balance the energies within you. When those energies within you are balanced, your thought process would be the right thing, your intuition would be correct, etc., etc., etc. So that's all I would say.
My question is, do you all know what is napalm? You know what is mustard gas? You all know what is these things?
Yes.
The Italians equipped the planes, like how we used to spray sugar cane in those days. They equipped their planes and sprayed mustard gas and napalm upon the country of Ethiopia because they could not defeat the Ethiopians in 1896, so they come back in 1935 and they used that kind of method, and still Ethiopia remained independent. So I want to understand carefully now what role then that Ethiopia has to play then in the liberation of Africa. Because the Organization of African Unity that was established in 1963, the headquarters is in Ethiopia. Today, the African Union gathers 52 nations, 52 nations gather in Ethiopia to discuss African people business. First of all, it was the Organization of African Unity. But because the Organization of African Unity spelled North Africa, South Africa, East Africa, West Africa, and Central Africa, they call it the Organization of African Unity. That is Kenneth Kiwanda, His Majesty, Jomo Kenyatta, and these elders and them. They form the Organization of African Unity. The point is now, Africa has realized that she has sons and daughters outside of the continent. So she decided now to adopt us as brothers and sisters, and we became the sixth, sixth region. So you don't have North Africa, South Africa, East and West Africa, and Central Africa, and all the Africans and the diaspora. We part of that sixth region. So I
please.
I don't want to
understand what you're saying, eh?
No, you telling me now. You telling me now. They bring slaves from Africa. How you come up with that? You bring slaves from Africa. You brought African people from Africa to work on your plantation as slaves, but you didn't bring no slaves from Africa. So they drop off some in Grenada, your brother. They drop off some in Jamaica. His uncle, aunt, his nene, cousin, all is black people.
Slave is not an African word.
No. So today now, me like Tobagonian. Right there. Right there, we are like Tobagonian. And we understand that we are like in our own self. So this is what I'm saying then, that they don't want us to go. We now start to come now, we coming now and starting to realize now we is African. So they come now with our next static. The octopus. You know the octopus? He has many tentacles. So if he catch you with that schism, he go catch you with that next schism. And that's such a schism. But the reality is, they realize then that the continent coming together. It's slow, but it's sure. We know that we shall win. And we are confident in the victory of good over evil. And you tell me about good. We are confident. Africa must be free. But we thinking it advancing. But is it advancing?
Yeah, Kerry Callen from the Southern Emancipation Committee. My interpretation and analysis of this whole thing I go straight to the heart. Topic is S-E-X, sex. Only last night I got a text from a Facebook friend. She was upset. And I wrote back and told her that every culture has their own interpretation of sex. But let us deal with it at our level. It's a taboo subject. We don't talk about it in the home. We don't talk about it in the school. When they teach it in school, they teach a scientific aspect of it. Most yet they don't talk about it in the church. So the children now are left to their own device. One elderly gentleman told me, that's something natural. Now I made it a study. So when I asked him, I said, well, where would you find the G-spot and the Y-spot in the female vagina? He couldn't say. So I just leave him at that. Long ago, gays and lesbians was in the closet. They had them around, but they was in the closet. But today now, they have this freedom to come out boldly as judges, film stars, presidents, schools, and as I watch some of the young boys walk up and down the coffee, I said, "Why are you walking like that?" You watch some of the young girls. If we don't teach our children about sex, now we first have to know about it. If we don't know, we can't teach them. I feel children at different age group should be taught what is the purpose of sex in terms of the reproduction of mankind, the duties of a young girl, the duties of a young boy. When your sister reaches this age, she will start to see her menstrual cycle. What is the menstrual cycle? And you start to explain to them. I was at a meeting not so long ago in Port of Spain, and the gentleman in his 70s, he kind of feeling bad that he came back to Trinidad to look after his mother, but he couldn't stand to see his mother nakedness. Now he had the financial wherewithal to put her in a home. His other two friends, who wasn't so endowed with cash, said, "What's wrong with you, boy? We look after our mothers until she died. We cleaned her." Because they understood the male and female in terms of sexuality. Now if you don't teach them, they would be left to the devices of these same groups. And they started all these children. So let us keep it as a taboo subject and don't deal with it in the homes. You understand? I write a book, it's about to go to the publishers, and I have a chapter dealing with marriage and sex. Let me give you this sexual topic. Now, you could pick many things, but I choose three. Sex, money, attitude. If those three don't balance together, and you have an imbalance, that becomes a toxic recipe to destroy any family, any organization, any nation. For example, I just got the book by Tony Martin, Professor Tony Martin, when he talked about Garvey and his two wives. Now I don't read the whole book, I'm just reading particular chapters. Garvey's first wife, people blame the white man, but analyze it. Miss Ashford. She was a nymphomaniac. Garvey couldn't talk. And if I would dramatize it, when Garvey started to talk, women started to take off their clothes. But he couldn't perform in bed for a nymphomaniac. His second wife was able to balance the attitude, the money, and the sex. So sex is very important, it's a very serious. You're talking about energies. So I could say more, but I'll leave it for that for now. But I think we need to have this discussion maybe twice a month. Thank you.
What you said, you have to put into context. That was the that was done naturally in societies that had initiations. That was the purpose of initiation. All that information would have been taught naturally. And all this mess and commerce we had would have been, for the most part, avoided.
Yeah.
quickly. To answer the brother here, our ancestors told us, know thyself. But it's not as simple as that. What is meant by that? What is meant by that is that we have knowledge which goes back thousands of years. And the tapping of that knowledge is what is going to take you on the road to knowing yourself. So the brother is very correct when he mentioned that when you are discussing the whole question of sex, you are in fact discussing the question of energy. And therefore, what we need to do is that if you go to ancient Kemet or any other society, let us see how they manage the energy in those societies. And then we'll be able to understand why you had balance and why these erotic issues, you do not see them very prominent in the literature in the ancient world. It has become prominent now in this decadence. But when we were managing the energy, those were issues that were solved by our civilization. And when we entered the European civilization, the European was in a very backward state because the European did not have the kind of maturity and development to handle certain human problems. So that is why in our context, there was no women liberation movement. There was no need for it because we had Hatshepsut as head of Kemet thousands of years before the Christian era. Okay? So that our society, and this is the fundamental point I keep making, it was based on the holistic development of the human personality. And the ancients were guided by know thyself. Thank you.
Let's go down the road.
Everyone. I wanted to bring a question particularly to Mr. Rowlett, who was here this afternoon by yourself. Ask a question to the persons in the community. My concern is that mankind is evolving now into the realm of digital currency. I am involved in that right now. And I'm looking at it and I'm seeing where they have created this new technology to have more control over mankind and manipulate it. For the last year and a half, I've been heavily involved in digital currency and also understanding how they are using internet and social media to continue to spy on individuals unknown to them, right? Through direct and indirect forms, whether it's an application on your phone or just basically your phone, because you can be tracked on your phone, whether the battery is in, the battery is out. Once you move around, signals bounce off of the different poles and transmit that information back to the service provider, right? And it doesn't even have to be TSCT, it could be somebody external. But these things do exist. Also, in terms of the impact of digital currency, bartering was the genesis of trading. That is where it all began. And it's coming back now to bartering in a digital form. However, the end game is that they want to put the system in place to say when a particular day reaches, listen, you cannot buy or sell, you cannot trade unless, yeah? That is where they're going with it, as far as I am concerned. Now, bartering is still open to each and every one because we can agree on something without money, because money or currency was created to steal value from each and every one those in this room and everybody outside of this room. That is what it was created to do, right? And some of us will do well to understand that even now, even having participated in it for such a long time unknowing, right? Currency was created to take away purchasing power from us on a weekly, a daily, a monthly, a yearly basis, right? By those persons who designed that system. What I would like to know and understand and hope for is that we have persons within this generation now who understand these technical things and who would seek to edify us as Africans in a way forward, because just how they have their thing, I believe that we're supposed to have our thing. We have our own community, and we can agree amongst ourselves and have that battering going on, because we need an ecosystem. We need each other in order to survive. If your brother providing wheat or grains or what have you, we're supposed to be able to coexist and to have our own community and have our own commerce in circulation to support each other. So I came with those questions on my heart to find out and to get some feedback.
You have the answers.
That's
our problem. We have the answers. And let me help you. But like you need some help. Okay? Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, we had barter. So what was the system like? It was stable. Good. So you have introduced barter into discussion, so you know what the solution is. The problem with you, you don't know yourself yet. So when you know yourself, you will know as the crisis deepens internationally, the crisis will force us back to ourselves. That's one. Two, you have the banking system. And we have Susu. Huh? Yeah. So we have to go back to Susu. And you have Gaia. But the problem with these things is that they're not making news. We like news, gallery, and this and that kind of thing. You know what I mean? So if on BBC or CNN and the top thinkers in the world, okay, come and they are discussing barter, then we. But enough people here have been running the Susu for years upon years and solving their problems. So all I'm saying, my brother, know thyself, and you have no problem.
I'm glad you make an important concern. You won't be able to buy and sell, because it's something that in Revelation, but we don't want to deal with that because that is the Christian, that is the European Bible. But I don't know the Bible as being European. You understand? But that's for another time. But I wanted to deal with the point, one of the points you want to make. We have reached to the extent we have become so sexual that when the system are talking free, when the system are going through the half period now, and you're home there, you're tossing in the night, instead of going and fast and pray and go on your knees, you're going out the road. Not true? So man in himself then has developed a certain weakness. When the sisters are then going through the menopause now, what's happening now? You're jittery. You're going out the road, you're looking for 14 years old. That's what's happening, you know. So we lost that self-discipline and self-control within ourselves. Those things then could have been attained through fasting and praying. So when mama now seeing her health, you're supposed to be assisting in doing the chores, whatever it is you're supposed to do. That's what it is, because nationhood starts with family life. So as long as you destroy that foundation structure of family life, you have no nationhood. That is why I'm saying the topic about male and female and production then is important, because that is where family life comes from. We must have children. So you want to destroy that concept then of a family being mother, father, daughter, son. You understand? To further weakness. Because they realize now we started to come together, you know. This is happening by chance, you know. Because 5 years ago or 3 years ago, we couldn't get this, you know. But it's starting to happen now. I might have said, he did a workshop. No, I'm a brother now. Yeah. You understand? I'm a sister. So we're starting to pull together now. And they're going to try in every aspect of it to try to keep us apart. Let us look at 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth just like this. Because I know my brethren here from years now, you know. But whenever we meet, we're greeting each other now as brother. So I want now, when I see you all, the next time now, I hope and pray then that you will call me out, highly be careful, what happened, it, and you know what I mean? Because it's a building process, you know, it cannot stop. We could try to stop this, they're trying to stop it, we cannot stop this nation from going forward. Africa must be free.
at home and abroad.
Historical.
Thank you.
My name is Brother Maskini.
Yeah, Maskini, 10 minutes.
I've been in the field since I was 11 years old. This year, the deja vu. We had this several times for our lives. But the most important thing was that people forget to take their names legally. You're going to sign something, you're going to sign James Filbert, and then I'm going to call you Kenyatta. Why don't you take your name legally? And this is one of the hindrances we have. I know this brother, he can't remember me. Tafili. Kasala Kamara. Konata Mandela. These are fellows, I'm sure these fellows have their name legally. Why don't we take one name legally? That is for the coward.
Stepping forward.
The coward, and that is a step forward. We want people to call us Africans, but you see what we want to call ourselves, James and Philip. We have to look at that seriously. And in the spiritual realm, before you start to pray, I'm not a spiritualist. You have to call your name. This is so and so. And you can't go down to the spirit. Say, my name is Ted. And this has been my experience. I am not a religionist. I'm not a spiritualist, but I'm spiritual. Oh, that sound crazy? I'm spiritual. So I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, this is advice from the heart. I started at 11 years old, reading, and I'm 64 years old now. So take it from an old man, right? Get down and change your name. Change your name legally, and we'll be way forward.
You wanna wrap up?
We going to talk tonight. You wrap up. Yeah, the parents take opinion. Let us sit in just and reason.
Okay. Let's say that. But I just want to say a few things for those who might want to leave and so on. I want to thank everybody for coming. We have a few bowls of fruit bowl there that we cater to the head table, so a few people can partake. We would appreciate if you give a small contribution because we have to pay for the rent here. And we will have another session, definitely, right?
Contribution.
So just stay tuned to the Facebook and whoever call you and so on, we call you. So yes, if people want to stay around and continue the discussion, fine. Those who want to leave, that's fine.
Yeah. In connection with the brother here, right? I mean, I like the historical, the philosophy, the spirituality, but my pet is economics. That's why I mentioned Garvey. In terms of what he's saying with the cryptocurrency and how we could challenge, I'm not at liberty to disclose much, but right now I'm in a group. When we start the business, they have the technical people on board who would build their own cloud. They're only using Google Cloud. They've already developed their own handset and patented it. So we'll be using our own system. And we need to get back to the secrecy. The makers and shakers need to stay behind and send a few people up front. So physically, you don't know who really is behind the scenes. We want to move normal, quiet, and we're going to do our business. Unfortunately, we have to take this business outside the Trinidad, because when you look at the laws, how it was drafted and crafted, The laws was made to protect institutions and not the people. So we go, and then you need political patronage. So we go and we're getting political patronage. It's outside the trade yard, and you could hear a little bit more about it when it gets going. But trust me, we already done start to formulate it. I don't get a text this week saying, well, look, we need to do so. And let me tell you something. When I went to that meeting in Port of Spain, and the gentleman explained a few things, at the end of it, I said, well, could I have a business card? He said, no. People come to me by referral. You don't share business card like that. The next thing he told us, he said, as if for some award that, he said, never go to a meeting on time. He said, always go early or a little late. And then he explained why. He said, never go to a meeting by yourself. Always get 3 or more persons. He said, when you sit, do not sit together. Sit by twos. Let one person be the spokesperson, and you develop your own internal code. Like when you put your hand, it means shut your mouth. When you scratch your head, it means talk. And you know, he was admonishing us. Now he is the man who will broker the deal and so on and so forth. But he was just advising us of his time in America on how we should go about doing our own thing. That's what you can say for that.
I just want to say something, mention something when Heidi was talking about it. You know, when women see the periods, etc., etc., etc. And I don't want us to go far, just to stay close. All of these perversion, compared to what Kasala Kamara is saying, is about managing energies. And if your spiritual system or whatever you're doing is not balancing the energies in you, you will have these perversions. So it all comes back to balancing energy, right?
You know, we're talking about this homosexuality thing, but the Europeans are trying to reintroduce their culture. Understand this is not an African culture, because if we, whether colonialism or not, if you go into African spirituality, this thing called homosexuality as is, it is not really. As we say, we use our closet people because we know we are hormonal balancing happens. We deal with it. The society always had a way to deal with it. You understand? Because classical Greek painting is a man with a wing on his hand, and excuse me language, big people are sucking a man penis and a man penis in the bottom. It is on vases and things. Classical Greek painting, Aristotle said, he said the only reason for woman is for procreation, but the sweetest sex is man and man. This is not African. Only then we get real, and this is not African. I'm not saying that we wouldn't have it in little holes, because the most democratic country in the world, what is Africa? Because I could have tell mommy, may I agree with what you and daddy saying, and they say, all right, we wish you well. But not in my house. So you go on and you form your own thing. And the same thing you will get that from your child. But everybody, but then the views are distant cousins. That's where it comes from. But you had the right to develop your own in the democracy. But it had a root from your original mother and father. And the original mother and father, that is not African. You understand? It exists in big, the hormonal balance is there. Pauline Springer told me once, she gave a lecture, and she said, when she stopped seeing she period, she spiritual elderly female, she called she and she said, all right, you turn man now. You understand? She said, you turn man now. It's a different thing that just like the brother talk, administrative and thing. Sometimes, so you reach a different stage in your life as an elder, you understand? And you do things. So I am saying, let us understand, let us get our history, let us be educated along that, and after that, because we have so many different religious concepts. At the end of the day, spirit and energy, just as the brother said, full stop. Spirit and energy. You know, so I am saying that it is not Africa in its general sense, not even its minute sense is Africa. the way they want to promote homosexuality. You understand? So I am saying, but I'm saying to say, let us read, let us get our history, let us be educated, because I will never be as the brother on Ethiopia. I may never be on that. I might be Orisha and stay there. But it does not prevent the energies from meeting. It does not prevent us from understanding and getting a common ground for this thing called African survival and African redemption. So if we don't get that common ground, we're going to be keep on fighting and fighting and fighting. We will be in sessions, and I mean to say, he was saying, the brother was saying, all right, Ethiopia, I was saying, I don't know any Orisha thing. And when the battle talking, I could go with that. When I go and go in the shrine and I handle the story, it goes for me. You understand? But it's different angles of things. Africa is so wide. So many different concepts come out of Africa. I mean, it's so beautiful. We should embrace the diversity of Africa and bring our oneness. But that homosexuality, I know Africa, man.
So folks, what we have a presentation to make, so we just take a break here and do something a little official. And so I let Sister Gemma make a presentation to Kasala Kamara.
I want to give you a little background. We had our annual June, the 1st of June. Yes, to which you were invited.
Yes.
And then, but I can't tell you how long I have known Tamara. I remember walking up High Street, I was 14 years old, which is a very long time ago, because somebody I came to there and they pointed out my grades. And that's okay, we all up there somewhere. And he gave me a list of African names. You will not believe I have it to today. I've known him a very long time. He's in my family. And it is with a great sense of privilege and honor that I present you with this plaque from the Southern Emancipation Committee. It is a copy of the Emancipation Affirmation. Pleasure that I give this to you. As you know, this is our offering to the world to help bridge the gap between our various religious dogma, and what a better person to have it in possession.
I would just want to express my deep appreciation and gratitude for this presentation, and to wish the Southern Emancipation Committee positive vibrations as we go forward. And in my view, I go back to opposites. The absence of Brother Browder, we have the presence of all of us. So I think we need to give ourselves. So what we have is thesis, antithesis, synthesis. And I say to my brother here, let us not get tied up with all this talk about, get away with us mystify the spiritual. As the brother said, it is a question simply of energy. Positive energy and negative energy. And let us get out of that world of mystification and let positive energy flow within us, flow within our families, and flow within our communities and the nation at large. Thank you, brothers and sisters. Positive energy.